Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to be looking at the history of the Western Xia Dynasty, which was located right here in Ningxia. It's a mysterious part of Chinese history and not many things remain. Well, let's have a look at some of these amazing things that we have left. The Western Xia carved out its territory following the collapse of the Tang Dynasty in 907. Lasting from 1038 to 1227, the Xia Dynasty existed alongside the Han-led Song Dynasty to the south, the Khitan-led Liao Dynasty, and the Liao Dynasty's eventual conquerors, the Western Jin Dynasty. The Western Xia remains something of an enigma. No standard history of the Western Xia exists, unlike the Liao and the Song, and the fragments of the written language of the Tanguts that do remain don't tell us a great deal either. The Western Xia was active between 1038 and 1227, and it controlled a huge part of what is today northeast China. Ningxia was where its focus was. The city of Inchuan was the capital at the time, named Xinqing. And it covered territory over Gansu province, some of Xinjiang, Qinghai, Inner Mongolia, even Outer Mongolia, some of northern Shanxi also. So it was, it was a legitimate dynasty. Carved out of the end of the Tang Dynasty. Let's talk about the pagodas. For those who watched my channel, you will know the pagodas do feature quite heavily, and this is not only because I happen to think they're wonderful, but also because they are more often than not the best remaining architectural features of China's history, due to most being made of stone or brick. No wooden buildings remain from the Western Xia Dynasty, but a handful of wonderful pagodas do, albeit with a lot of renovation. These twin pagodas in the Helan Mountains are all that remain of what was once an area with hundreds of Buddhist temples. They are both 13-story pagodas, with the Western Pagoda reaching 41 metres in height, and the Eastern Pagoda a couple of metres shorter. The pagodas have a mysterious history with no exact date and no written record of them at all. Set against the backdrop of these barren mountains, however, they are as spectacular as any pagoda you would hope to see in China. Another pagoda connected to the Western Xia is way out east of Inchuan and locked up when I arrived. Luckily, however, a man with a key let me have a very quick look. The Hongfo Pagoda is, although heavily restored, sublime. The first emperor of the Western Xia was Yuan Hao, and his tomb, along with the tombs of all of the other Western Xia emperors, are also right here in Inchuan, and they are very unusual. Let's have a look. The Western Xia tombs are just outside the city of Inchuan at the foot of the Helan Mountains. 9 imperial tombs and hundreds of others remain. So far, only one tomb, the largest, has been excavated, and it belongs to the founding emperor of the Western Xia, Li Yuanhao. The imperial tombs are surrounded by a square wall with a rammed earth tomb inside. They are unlike tombs from other dynasties, adding to the mystery of the Western Xia. The first emperor's father and grandfather are also buried here, but the final 3 emperors' tombs are possibly not here due to the sudden destruction of the Western Xia at the hands of the Mongols. Jumping back to the city, the Ningxia Museum in central Inchuan has a great collection of Western Xia Buddhist artifacts. Also, there are a few of these really unusual steely bases from the tombs. These northern dynasties, the Western Xia, Liao, and the later Jin, produced some of the most beautiful artwork you could imagine, fascinating counterparts to the ultra-developed society of the Han-dominated Song dynasty in the south. Another wonder of the Western Xia can be found further south in Ningxia, on the banks of the Yellow River. As you can see, it's pretty busy. I just took when I came, you've got to take like a little car here, a guangguangshi they're called, like a little sightseeing car, and I was the only one on it. Truly unusual, the 108 pagodas have been standing here for the best part of 1,000 years and have crumbled and been rebuilt throughout the dynasties. Okay, there are 108 of them, but it only adds 1 to my count. Alright, let's get going. We can walk up to the top. You can't actually walk in between all the pagodas, but you can walk up the sides all the way to the top. Let's have a look. I think Ningxia is full of amazing history.
as with almost all Western Xia remains, it stands kind of alone, outside of modern urban centres, and this, I think, is what makes these Western Xia sites so great for the traveller.
So this place is incredibly unique. There's nothing else like this anywhere in China. And it's been here, sat on the banks of the Yellow River for 1,000 years. In the Yuan, Ming, Qing dynasties had a lot of renovations, a lot of work done. But nevertheless, kind of an unusual place. They're arrayed obviously in a pyramid, kind of a triangle form, and every row, the number of pagodas in each row is an odd number, obviously. Odd numbers in Buddhism are important, and there are 108 altogether, also an important number in Buddhism.
The Western Xia expanded to control the old Silk Road Hersey corridor, managing huge amounts of trade into China, created a strong military, and formed part of what was essentially a multi-state China. So what exactly happened to it?
The Western Xia lived amongst very powerful neighbours. The Liao Dynasty, the Song Dynasty, later the Jin Dynasty, and also the Mongols. And for a while, they did quite well. Between these states, there were numerous alliances and breakups, wars fought between them. And at one point, the Western Xia and the Mongols were at war with the Jin. In 1225, the Western Xia made peace with the Jin, however, which caused a lot of problems with the leader of the Mongols. That was Genghis or Chinggis Khan. Chinggis Khan vowed to destroy the Western Xia dynasty completely, and just 2 years later, in 1227, the Mongol armies were laying siege to the city of Inchuan, where I'm staying. Now, while peace negotiations were underway, the Great Khan was in the south of this part of China, in a place called Guyuan in the Liupan Mountains, where he died. The Great Khan, known throughout the world, Chinggis Khan, died right here in Ningxia. His death was kept a secret, and negotiations continued in the capital. Eventually, the Western Xia bowing down to the Mongols, who then systematically annihilated them and their entire culture in what can only be described as ethnic cleansing. Mass genocide. The Tangut people were so thoroughly wiped out that their entire culture was lost. Their language survived a little bit longer and eventually also faded into obscurity until the 20th century, when people started to begin to translate fragments found in certain parts of China. The actual name today used for this part of China, Ningxia, has a reference to the old Western Xia dynasty. The Xia being Xia, Ning meaning pacified, the pacified Xia.
In a country with perhaps the most complete written record of history, the Western Xia remains enigmatic, and although it is likely more document evidence will surface which may answer more questions about the Tangut dynasty, at the moment we have to be simply content knowing a dynasty emerged in what is now Ningxia, which rivaled all others of its time, until the irresistible force of the Mongols swept away all in their path. And that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next.